Hi, folks. Thank you for joining me to Duplication Deconstructed. My name is Pramela Thiagesan. I'm a diamond level leader with doTERRA International. And, as I was putting together this training at the beginning of the summer of 2016, it really marked, I think, a coming into my own. I've been floundering in finding my identity as a diamond or as a leader even in doTERRA because there were so many different mentoring and business models and different team cultures that were available. And though I found value in so many of them, there were pieces that were still really missing for me in what was important to me in my journey with doTERRA. At the core of who I am, in the survival of me, in my mental, spiritual, and emotional health, I found that at the core of who I am, congruency, being authentic, and being deeply entrenched and passionately involved in all aspects of my life was something that was very near and dear to me. I have never been able to thrive in an environment where I just did things for the sake of doing it without a larger purpose. It was very hard for me to be motivated to do things that I had to do just for survival. Survival and me are not friends. I've tried surviving and it just didn't work out for me. I am deeply committed to thriving in everything that I do, in all the choices that I make. And so I began thinking about how I could take all the wonderful work that my fellow diamonds have put together in developing beautiful programs and awesome handouts and supportive tools in helping you with your duplication process, in bringing about a more and using that, and for me to find my place, my voice, and being an authentic and clear voice in being a part of this team, in offering you something that's me, something that's useful. And so when I decided to come up with a name for this program, and I called it, Duplication Deconstructed, please know that this is not a demolition. That's not it. I decided to use the word deconstructed. It's because, duplication processes and duplication methodologies come together as a unit. It's fully constructed for you, right? It's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, there's activities, there's goals, and there's outcome, and so on and so forth. But I'm deconstructing it so that you can find all the different pieces and the components. And if you look at the construction as a house or a structure, that's the engineering, that's the architecture of it. But when you look inside the house, it is what you've painted the walls with, how you've furnished the walls, the couch, and the furnishings, and the little nuances that you put in. That's uniquely you. Where I live in North Carolina is a condo, townhouse condo community. All the units look the same. They're very, very beautiful. But on the inside, we're allowed to make changes and make it our own. And on the inside, every single unit looks different. So what I hope is that when you take any duplication model, if we find the little nuances that make us who we are, and we hold true to the little pieces that allow the glue of these duplication systems to come together in a way that is authentic to you, feel that you'll be more successful, and that it would seem to you that you're not just part of the masses, but that you can truly find your legacy, and that doTERRA is not going to be the most difficult or the biggest thing that you've done with your life. It is going to become the rehabilitation or the boot camp or whatever it is you want to call it, whatever it is you need it to be for you. And it becomes that, so that you elevate into a place where you become a stronger, more powerful, more congruent version of yourself, so that you can go out and do bigger things. Now, I don't think that doTERRA should ever be the biggest thing that any one of us have done. In fact, even the executives at doTERRA isn't the biggest thing they're doing. It is everything that they do through doTERRA and how they use doTERRA as a vessel. Those things are bigger than anything that identifies them with the company itself. That's my belief. So when I decided to put this together, I looked at some of the components in this duplication process. And, you know, duplication processes across the board, I looked at all of them that were available, be it Edge, Success, or, you know, you name it. I looked at all of them, and they all were very similar. A lot of the things that were different were font usage, or just a slight nuance in the change of the words, or maybe use different graphics, or the arrangement might have been slightly different. But at the end of the day, there were certain components that were always constant. It was setting goals. It was knowing your why. It was having a contact list, and then your plan of action, you know, contacting them, sampling them, following up, doing one-on-ones, having classes, the enrollment process, making sure they understand the doTERRA difference, and then signing them up, and then letting them know about what that means with their membership, the membership benefits, or the membership overview, getting them on LRP, and then letting them know about the business opportunity, and then mentoring them into doing what you do. That's the core of everything. Now, what differentiates, just had to push a child out of the way, sorry. Can you go downstairs, please? What differentiates one person's success to another person's greater success in doTERRA is like you see two people doing the same thing, following the same methodology, the same duplication system. But what makes one person successful and the other person more successful? You know, I was just wondering about that because I get that question a lot. You know, people look at me and I'm an anomaly because when I signed up with doTERRA, I had no money. I got to silver in 4 months without a contact list, really. I didn't have people I wanted to talk to or could talk to. I was, because I was homeless. I was in a domestic abuse rehabilitation program. I couldn't hold classes in my home because I lived in a safe house and that was not allowed. I didn't have a car, so I had to walk wherever I went. I didn't have a whole lot of money for sample bottles. So how does a duplication system work for someone like me? You know, so that was always my nervousness and my dissonance with, duplication systems because it had a very rigid structure to it. So I began to think about what I could do to teach people who were the lowest common denominator like me. And if I could come up with a program that was, that could kind of sustain itself with the lowest common denominator, then it could be something that could be plugged in any other duplication system. So the first thing that I think is important before we begin anything is to know who we are. And I do a series of Zoom calls, and I never really know what I'm going to talk about in these Zoom calls, and they happen every Saturday morning. And as luck would have it, the participants directed me last week towards the topic of knowing who you are. So I'm going to give you guys the link to that video so you can watch it, and we'll discuss this concept. But I think that before you start with anything, you know, when you look at, the duplication system in every aspect and in every example, and they give you the set your goals, right? So most goal setting is, I want to be able to bring my husband home. I don't have a husband, but I am just talking. I want to be able to bring my husband home. That's a very common one. I want to be able to get out of debt. I want to be able to pay for my oils. I don't want my oils to be an expense. I want to have a little bit of extra money. Some people want it to be their income. And those are all your goals. And then, we evolved and we asked a deeper question. Why? Why do you want to do doTERRA? And good leaders will push their team into a more deeper philosophical answer. It's not just financially driven, but what is it that you want to do when you achieve certain goals? Because if it's just financial, because I set my goals that way when I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, if I can get my oils paid, that would be so awesome, because I really like the oils and I can't afford it. But if I can get my oils paid, that would be great. So that was my little goal. And then I hit it within like less than a month with fast start bonuses. So I was like, okay, well, there goes that goal. Time to evolve. And I was like, oh, if I can make $2,000, I can actually, when I, kind of graduate from transitional living, most people go into low income housing. And I was like, wow, if I can get $2,000 a month, I don't have to live in low income housing. I can maybe do something beyond that, better than that, bigger than that. And so I set that as a goal, and within 4 months, reached that goal. Now, then I was like, okay, well, I want to be able to fix my car and be able to afford to get off school food stamps. I want to be able to have savings. So gold. I want to hit gold. Gold would be a great place to be. Well, then I hit gold in 4 months after that. So I hit gold within 9 months of starting my business. And I did that as the lowest common denominator. Hold on 1 second, guys. Ariston, you can't be Zooming while I'm Zooming. You need to go downstairs. Sorry, he was like, distracting. So I hit gold in 9 months. And let me tell you, I was exhausted. I had lived 10 years in a very abusive relationship. I had lived 2.5 years in, like a domestic abuse program. And then in transitional living, it was like a full-time job for me to go to therapy sessions and counseling sessions and support groups. And then I did silver in 4 months, and then, gold in 9 months. I was exhausted. I was burnt out. And, it takes a lot of grit and a lot of running and a lot of not giving up to get there in that pace without a car, without a support system, without a contact list, without money. And I was ready to come home. And I did. I thought, I can do this. $3,000 or so a month as a single mom who lives very frugally. I can do this. I can live off this, just do what I need to do, support my team, do a class once. Hold on a second. Honey, you need to listen now. Now. He thinks I'm nice to him because you guys are here. I'm sorry about that. So I was ready to come home, and I did. So I came home and I made cookies and I fed the ducks. I didn't have ducks. I just brought them to the park, my kids to the park. We fed the ducks. I did the mom thing for the first time. I was, in a long time, I was able to do the mom thing. And I thought I was good because my goals were reached. I reached them, right? So luckily for me, my kids told me that I was driving them nuts and I needed to be at home less. And it was annoying. And they said, go do your doTERRA thing again. And so I was like, really? Okay. And I coasted on goal for like a year. I was home a lot and did whatever. And they kind of kicked me in the butt and said, Mom, go out and do something. And I said, okay. So I set new goals. And this time my goals were not monetarily driven. I really set a goal that was bigger than myself, bigger than what I needed. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to save lives. And I don't mean like CPR or, not that way. I wanted to find me or as many people like me as I could. Because by that point, I had grown very accustomed to getting messages from people almost every day. I always had a message, a text message, an email, a card, or face-to-face from someone who was thanking me because I brought essential oils into our community and told someone who told someone who told someone. Lives were changing, and they were changing in very, very meaningful ways. People were sleeping better, and you know how good sleep can change everything. Children were doing better at school. Families were happier. People were healthier, more balanced, more in control of their emotions. And this was all filled with such abundance and gratitude. I was getting thank yous every day. And I'd grown accustomed to that. And I realized as I was sitting there thinking, you know, I used to be suicidal. I used to think that I was a worthless human being. I used to think that my space on this planet was a waste. And somehow, through the vessel of the oils, I was different. I had purpose, and I was able to do something bigger than myself, bigger than the trajectory of my life. And so I looked at that and I thought, wow, if I could find one more person like me, and if that person also did what I did, then we would be saving not just thousands of lives, but 2,000s of lives. You know what I mean? And then if I found a third person and 10 people, then maybe we'd be saving tens of thousands of lives and changing tens of thousands of lives. So that became my mission. My goal was to find as many people who were as lost as me, who were as broken as I was, who were going to be the conduit maybe of change in the lives of others. And I knew I couldn't do it alone because it's not about me finding them directly. It's about who do you know that maybe knows someone like me, right? And it was a very personal thing, and maybe it's not necessarily a goal that resonates with everyone, but it was most certainly a goal that took this girl out of a place where I was making $3,000 a month and able to do really whatever I wanted during the day and be happy and present for my children and read to them at night and tuck them in bed. And it was such a blessed life. It is. I mean, it's such a blessed life, such a peaceful way of being. But I said, no, let's get up and let's go do something else. So goal setting is important. So look at your goals as not something that you can reach, but something that you have to keep reaching for. Does that make sense? You know, so if you say, I want to make $2,000, then what happens when you hit $2,000? You can say, oh, I want to hit $4,000. Then you hit $4,000. Then what happens when you hit $4,000? You will come to a point where that you have hard days and the money isn't important anymore. So your goals better be bigger than those hard days, because there will be hard days. And, you know, it's easy for people to go, oh, you know what? The difference between platinum and diamond is only a few $1,000s. And if you're already at the platinum level, making $10,000, that's enough for you. What is going to make you get up and stand up and fight for diamond, which is like, you know, average is about 17,000. If you feel like $10,000 is enough, you have to not make it about the money. Your goals have to be bigger than that. And before you can decide what those goals are going to be, you got to decide and realize and know very clearly who you are. Because if you know who you are, your choices in goal setting, your choices in accountability, your ability to stand up and do difficult things changes. Because you're very clear about who you are. So that was my first step. I needed to decide who I was. And I've been many things in my life. I've been a daughter, I've been a journalist, I've been a business owner, I've owned a restaurant, I'm a mother, I was a friend. I am a friend. I am a sister. I have been a victim. I've been a survivor. I've been betrayed. I have been a bad friend. I've been a bad human being. I've been all kinds of things. So I needed to decide what I was. And so when you realize who you are is a very deep and interesting question. And, you know, I talk about it in that Zoom call that I'm going to give you guys a link to. But fundamentally, you have to be very clear and very honest about it. And know who you, and the words that you use to describe yourself need to have a truth about them that has no exclusions. So the example I give is, for example, if you were to say, I'm a kind person, then you need to be kind, and you need to identify yourself as kind in all instances, even when you've been wronged, even when you are under stress, even when you've been betrayed, even when you're being threatened. Because it's so common for us to say, I'm a kind person, but you just pushed me. I'm a kind person, but I won't be pushed around. So therefore, now you're going to see the awful side of me. That's a common ideology. It's accepted. But then you're not kind, right? And you need to be okay with that. Because when you're kind, when someone wrongs you, you respond in kindness still. Doesn't mean that you are, you know, you can be firm and kind. You can still retain your sense of justice and be kind. You don't need to become unkind. Does that make sense, you guys? Thumbs up. Can you show me? Yes. That makes sense. So you know, draw a circle and write down all the things that are true about who you are, and be relentless about it. Because how you make your decisions and how congruent you are is based on that. And whatever lands outside the circle. So after this, you realize, you know what? Crap, I'm really not that kind. Be okay with it. Put it outside the circle. And guess what? You're not dead. You can still be kind. You can decide to be kind and move toward that. You can change your life and get toward that. It's okay. Anything that doesn't land in the circle isn't lost to you. You can still become that, right? So remember that. So know who you are, and then you can set your goals. And when you set your goals and say, for example, you say, oh, I want to hit elite by this month. I want to hit blue diamond by this time. Or I want to be able to pay off these bills by this time. And those are all goals. That's fine. And then, you know, you have the bigger picture, the more global picture. You know, you want to build a charter school in your community because education is important to you. Or maybe you want to support a community garden because sustainability is what is important to you. Maybe you want to start a literacy program because empowerment is important to you. Whatever it is, right? You have those written down for you. Now, understand that now you've written them down as goals. I want you to take them and put them a little bit further from you and say, that's the side effect of my goals. Because now you know who you are. Now the goal is, who do you need to become in order to achieve the goals that you had just set? Now those goals that you just set, I just pushed them aside and said that's a side effect. Because the real goal is, who do you need to become so that you can achieve those things? This business in doTERRA is awesome. It is one of the best self-development programs that you can get for $35 and a lot of oils. You know? It is truly one of the best self-development programs, because in every step, when you have committed to being in this business, every day you make a choice. You make a choice on who you are going to be today and who you need to become. And are there diamonds and blue diamonds and presidential diamonds who get there with a different set of personal development agendas or processes? Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. You can remain the person you are today and then be still there 10 years from now and still hit Blue Diamond. But hey, there's enough, you can make the choice for it to be bigger than that. And for me, I need it to be bigger than that. I need it to be bigger than that because I need very badly for every day of my life to be undiluted because I lived such a diluted existence for so long. I want every aspect of my life right now to be rich and filled with flavor and purpose. So if that resonates with you, I'm here. And let's do this. So I hope that makes sense for you. So I developed this concept of the 5-minute presentation for a few reasons. One, because I am very introverted, and the idea of standing in front of was very hard for me. I didn't like the idea of having to stand in front of people I didn't know and present. And then, look at where I am now. I last year presented in front of thousands of people in Utah, which was crazy. But it all began with the 5-minute presentation. And the 5-minute presentation was a way for me to easily ease myself into a larger presentation. And as I sat and developed the 5-minute presentation and got really, really comfortable with it, I realized that it can also work the other way. If you are someone who's comfortable with teaching an hour-long class or a 45-minute class or a 2-hour class, now you can actually hone your skill and your craft by bringing it down. So one of the things that I used to do for a living was I used to edit medical journal articles and textbooks. And so I would get this like big stack of information and I had to make it into this stack of information. That's a skill, And in the same way, it's a skill where, people are like, they're used to a 45-minute window to give people that oil experience. How can you do it in 5? You're really good if you can go from 45 minutes to 5, right? And then you can get really good at the 45 minutes if you do it in 5-minute segments. So one of the ways I trained myself was that I would pick different topics or different components of the whole presentation, and I would give myself about 3 to 5 minutes to speak about it. And I do a lot of really great thinking in the shower. So wherever it is that you do your great thinking, try doing this 3 to 5 minute presentation in there. So what are some of the major components of introductory presentation to essential oils? If somebody comes to class and they've never been to a class, so let's talk about that. Kendra, what you've been doing this for a while now. You're very good at it. What are some of the components of a good intro class?
So you know what? When we got into doTERRA, I think Danny was one of the first ones that made the rip suit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would ask him, who's it? And I'm not sure this is what you want, but this is what we did, is he's familiar with essential oils, right? And we would always have them sample something if someone had a headache or things. That's how we start. And then basically we would go through that rip suit, and that's how we speak the classes. But you would also make it your own, but that way anybody could do it. That was our thought.
Exactly. Perfect. So some of the components that are, talked about is that essential oils come from plants, plants. They're 50 to 70 times more powerful than the plant from which they come from, which makes them a very efficient way for you to, administer the benefits of the plant. Essential oils are lipid, so you show people that, hey, you apply it on your skin, it absorbs into your body, and, it's the benefit is that the human cells are also lipid. So the delivery into the cells is so effortless, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another point. And then we talk about the multifaceted aspect of essential oils as opposed to what we're used to. So it's not a one product for one problem. So it's not like I buy this cleaning product for this thing, and I buy this thing to kill spiders, and then I buy this thing, to support my pizza habit, right? It's not like that, where you can get peppermint oil and it takes care of all of those three things. So it's multifaceted, right? So those are some major components. And then we talk about, aromatic, internal, topical. That's another major component of an intro class.
And the purity.
Right? And then we talk about the sourcing, why purity is important, why potency is important, why the chemotype and where you get the oils are from is important. So if you think about it, that's all like, 3 to 5 minute segments, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We piece, we piece it together. So now the benefit of mastering a 5-minute presentation is that when you make this a part of who you are able to now drop important components of a class within a conversation. Without it becoming you pitching or spieling someone. If you learn how to break it, crumble these pieces, and it's so comfortable, it becomes something that you can integrate in any conversation that you have without it sounding like you are on an agenda, on a mission. So it's a give and take. It's an ask, receive. Ask, receive. So if you master that, you can do that. You can put that into any conversation. I have become so good. 90% of my organization is not from my warm market. I don't have a web presence. That's not how I build my business. So I don't enroll people from online forums. I enroll people because I have just met them. And I just meet them through conversation. So the conversation is always where I am interested in them. I'm interested to know more about them. And, one of the things that I used to do back when I was in advertising was I used to train salespeople. I'm a terrible salesperson. But what I did teach them was not about selling, but I taught them about listening. That was my part. That was what I trained these salespeople to do. It wasn't about how to sell. It was about how to listen. And one of the things that I told them is when you come to a point of close and you have given them all the information that you can give them, and it's now time for them to make a decision, you have to ask them the question, is this a priority for you? Or, you ask the question in different ways, but you want to know, is this a priority for you? So if you're buying a car, it's like, is the safety and all the features that I've shown you in this car a priority for you? And then after you've asked the question, what I tell them is that the first person who answers, or the next person who speaks, right? The next person who speaks loses. So you don't open your mouth. Don't speak. After you've said everything you need to say, and you've put the ball in their court, now pretend you're a puppy, and and I put bacon on your nose, and I say, stay, wait, stay. Think about that as a visual for you when you are talking to people. You've told them everything, because you can over-talk it, right? Yes? Have we over-talked oils at some point to somebody, right? Yeah. Oh, yes, Maureen says that. Yeah, we've over-talked oils. So bacon on your nose. Remember what I just said, after you've given them the question, is this a priority for you? The next person who speaks loses. And that was, my dialogue, that was my speak back then. I don't think of it in that way. I don't think that deciding to, embark on an essential oil journey is losing. It's just an easy way for me to communicate to you what I mean. This is not a game, but It's a communication dance, so once you've said what you need to say, the next person who speaks loses. So when you master the 5-minute presentation and understand how it works, it gives you, I'm putting the bacon on your nose, right? Like, you say this and only this, you only have this much time to say it, and then stop, pull back, and ask them a question. So, and it can be, and ask them the question. Now they're talking, they're in control, they're in charge. And one of the things we'll talk about in terms of posture is that, we spend so much time leaning into people, because I think that we've come into a culture of being very frantic about closing people at a certain time, in a certain time frame. And I'm not saying that that's not important. That's absolutely important. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when I watch people kind of talk people out of a membership, because that's a big disservice. That's unnecessary, and that's a big disservice. The benefit of that membership for them is going to be life-changing. Don't you dare take that away from them. But my point is, the 5-minute presentation, once you master it, it is going to be one of the biggest tools that you're going to be able to not just utilize in your own business, but also as you train other people on your team. Hold on a second. Honey, you need to go. Don't come back up here. I will call you. I love you. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that, guys. He's usually really good, but I think he's having like mommy withdrawal or something. So does that make sense? Can I pause for a second and can we have a little discussion? Can we, have a back and forth? Sue, can you give me a little bit of feedback on what you think about what we've talked about so far?
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. I love the fact of just really breaking it down to a 5-minute presentation. And I am, like you, an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, it's posturing, but I am an introvert. And so speaking in front of a group of people is difficult. But the thought of putting it together in a 5-minute presentation and really having it become a part of me, that it's part of my core. I love that concept, that it can break it down and become, that it is a part of me. And as you were saying that, I totally could envision how much more comfortable it then becomes when you are having a conversation with people, and that you can share it because it's in there. It's easy to share instead of scrambling, thinking, back to the hunter and the farmer, right? If it's inside of you, then I'm farming. I'm sharing the information. It is a part of me. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it.
Good. Yes, I love that. I love that visual. That's great. Thank you. Yes,
You're
and
welcome.
it kind of gives you a limit. It forces you to stop,
Absolutely.
because we can go on and on about the oils days. And as Jackie says, she goes, I'm an introvert, but also have had 2 long classes with pages and pages of notes. Since not only is she an introvert, she says, she's also a perfectionist. So I'm just reading off her chat here. So, it resonates, right? So now let's look at some components of the 5-minute presentation. And let's see. Okay. I'm going to show you a little handout that is coming your way. And can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on it, and we're going to look at some of the components of it. So the 5-minute presentation right here, it creates an opportunity to give someone a 5-minute presentation by asking questions about them. So what does that mean? So when you ask them, hey, and you're talking and you go, hey, thanks for suggesting this restaurant. I love it. I've not been here before. Do you like to go to, little locally owned restaurants, or are you more of a franchise type person? When you ask a question like that, you're going to learn a little bit about the value system of someone, right? Mm-hmm. If they're like, oh, I love Olive Garden and Red Lobster, it's like where we go every time we need to celebrate. What have you learned about that person? Anybody? What have you learned about them? Where's your value system in terms of now the information you've gathered about them in terms of what you can, how you're going to be able to, you're piecing things about them, about what's important to them, right?
Well, I would think that they're not spontaneous, that they like the same thing over and
Right.
over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's safe. It's more safe for them, maybe.
Right.
You think it's just a restaurant, but at the same time, there you go. What's your program? What's your daily routine, right?
Right.
So,
very insightful. So now you know a few things about them and how you're going to deal with them. They like routine. They like, if they like something, they're going to stick to it. Get them on LRP, right? Right? If they like something, they're going to stick to it. They're creatures of habit.
So true.
Right? And you've also learned that supporting local is not yet a thought for them. That local sustainability is not yet a thought for them. They are more, mainstream, So, now you're learning things about them. Now, now in your 5-minute presentation, your response to them is something that's going to be honed to that. So one of the things that you can talk about in your 5-minute presentation based on this example I gave you is that, somewhere in there you want to say, hey, one of the things I love about doTERRA is that their oils are tested. And that means that it's so consistent. The results are so consistent every single time that you can be sure that when you use wintergreen, you're going to get the same results every single time. Right? Did you learn, does that make sense? For that to be important to them?
Yeah.
Right?
That's perfect, yeah.
Right. So now that's part of your 5-minute presentation for them, not your agenda, theirs. Not your agenda, it's their priority, right? And then you've learned that, so then, that sourced from, the country of origin, that not so important to them. Possibly not yet, right? It's important to you, but it's not yet important to them, right? Does that make sense? I mean, is that an okay example right there?
Yeah.
So, okay, then the next part is listen deeply and connect with what their core values, concerns, and priorities are to the message that you will deliver. So, I like asking people, so if you were not doing what you're doing right now and money wasn't an issue and you didn't have to pay bills, what is your ideal job? What is your ideal career? What is your ideal vocation? That's one example of a question that you can ask them as you're learning about them. So what is it? And you can all kinds of different answers. Some people be like, oh, I love the fact that I don't have to think. I just go to work. I don't like stress. I go to work and I just do my job. I love my job. I wouldn't want to change it. And then there are people who are like, oh, I want to help people. That's a common, some people are like, oh, if I didn't have to do this, I would be a musician. Just want to play music. So based on those kind of answers, what kind of a 5-minute presentation can you give them? Now, the person who says, oh, I love my job because I don't have to think. I just go to work, I get a paycheck, and then I come home and I can just relax. I can leave my work at home. That's important to me. I love that. Those are the people that you want to introduce the Modern Essential book to. And you want to talk about how easy this is. There's no wrong oil. You can use any oil you want. Put it on the bottom of your feet. There's no rule here. Just dilute everything and put everything on the bottom of your feet. It's that simple. Right? Part of your 5-minute presentation. And then, you go to the guy who wants to be a musician. It's like, oh, if I didn't have to work and I didn't have to pay the bills and I didn't have kids, I would still be a musician. Then for them, you talk about maybe how, because doTERRA doesn't believe in ownership, that they believe in stewardship, that there are families that get to stay and live in the legacy of the truth of who they are and what they love to do. And they're able to bring their children home. and that doTERRA honors the spirit of that. That will resonate with someone like that, don't you think? And that, and then, you can use words like symphony of the cells, that the oils can turn on the music for you, that the oils are inspirational in helping you find, find your voice. Though you when you're presenting, use those words. This is not manipulative. It's not advertising. It's not marketing. It is being so deeply in sync and soulfully connected with the person that you are having a conversation with, that it's important to you that they feel like you are hearing them and are present. Why not? Right? Why not? Listen deeply and connect with what their core values are. So practice your 5-minute presentation in the shower, while you're driving, and with a family member. Do it over and over again. Practice makes perfect. And just when you get comfortable with one way that you give your 5-minute presentation, add a different component to it. Challenge yourself and go, what would I say to a teacher? What would I say to someone who's a Trump supporter? What would I say to somebody who loves chocolate? What would I say to somebody who loves to cook? What would I say to someone who hates to cook? What would I say to someone who has children? What would I say to someone who works night shift? How would my 5-minute presentation change? Just kind of have this going. And I had this ongoing dialogue. I mean, it was like shower time, 5-minute presentation time, and that's how I did it in my head, until I've come so good at teaching classes. I can walk into a room, be completely unprepared, and give one of the best classes ever. I'm known for that. I'm known for giving powerhouses of classes, powerful classes, and people look at me and go, "Yo, that class was different from the other one. How did you do it?" Because I'm standing there and I'm watching how my class and the people in the audience are responding to me. I'm not looking at my TerraPad, I'm looking at them. I see them nod at one thing, I know that resonates with them. If I see blank look, I want to know why. I want to know what it is they want to hear. Sue, you've been to a couple of my classes, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Have they been different?
Yes, they have.
Always different. Same
Always.
sometimes, right? Still talking about essential oils.
Absolutely. Yep.
But the spirit is different. And I was accused of being unduplicatable because my classes were always different. Yet, guess what? My team teaches some of the best classes ever, hands down.
Sweet.
Because they have learned to duplicate me in this instance. They don't sound like me and they don't try. They sound like themselves. And I've taught them that it's okay to sound different, to be true to who they are. And so people are responding to their classes because my team is, they're connecting. So Maureen, by any chance, can you unmute yourself? Can you say hi? Can you try?
Pram, I just got company, so I'm going to have to step off.
That's okay. This will be recorded, and I will be sending you, the link for it. But thank you for being here. We've just got a few more minutes before I end off here anyway.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So now, Maureen, is there any way you can unmute yourself? If not, it's okay. So I have more than one version of the 5-minute presentation. Do not get technical. Keep it conversational. Remember, your 5-minute presentation shouldn't sound like a presentation. You're having a conversation, a back and forth, right? And I will show you some examples as we move along, okay? Now, use the 5-minute presentation when you're introducing someone to oils or asking permission to send them samples. I love using the 5-minute presentation as a way to ask for permission to send them samples. So when somebody tells me, oh, I've got this and this and this, and I'm like, a lot of people go, oh, I've got an oil for that. Let me send you a sample. It's amazing. I know that this oil is going to help you with that and, with the thing that you have, and, you're going to love it. These oils are amazing. Now, right there, it's your agenda. You want to get them a sample. And what I do is I say, oh, you know what? If somebody's like, oh my gosh, I have not slept in days. I'm so crabby right now. I'm like, I have some oils that really help me with crabby too. And the reason why I like it is because it doesn't contain hormones. It doesn't have any side effects mentally. I can feel the difference almost immediately. For me, I'm very, very frugal, and it's so affordable that it's almost ridiculous for me not to use this as the choice instead of the alternative. And I also really have found that it has helped me adjust my mood very, very quickly. So it works fast. That's my little 5-minute presentation on using oils for mood management, right? And I'm like, so, these things are all really cool. And I know that I can tell you with certainty that, it's worked for me. And I've had other people use it too. And I really would love for you to try it because I value what you think. And I was wondering if you would be willing to accept some of this as a gift and tell me what you think. And maybe I can call you and you can, you can share your experience with me, because that means a lot to me. People don't say no. And when I ask them if I can send them samples in that way, you know what? They use it because, they don't feel pressured. And also because they're doing me a favor, because I've given them a gift. And I've given them reasons why in a very conversational manner and not in a very salesy manner. It's not, essential oils are used in, this facility and this way. And, because of their, lipid structure, the words were conversational, right? So that is important for you to keep in mind. You can use the 5-minute presentation when you're introducing someone to oils I already said that. Do not present more than 3 points during your 5-minute presentation, because there are so many great points, right? With essential oils, there's so many great things that you can say about them. It's hard to know when to stop. So when you're doing a 5-minute presentation, make sure that you're keeping it very small. And if you have a face-to-face and you happen to have oils, find a way to incorporate them. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'll pay attention to your body language and the pace of your verbal tone of your message. So talking points, these are all, I gave you some examples of some talking points. High in antioxidants, cost-effective, lipid advantage, potency, multifaceted use, so on and so forth. You can use those as a guide, but they're not the absolutes. I'm just giving you a starting point, a thinking, a trigger, okay? And then you have some, when you want people to experience the oils while giving a 5-minute presentation or one-on-one, go with big impact oils. Don't go with oils like marjoram, even though they might be big impact to you, or cypress. You want to go with something that you can ask them, hey, did you feel that? Did you see that? Did you taste that? Do you know that? Right? Do you feel that? Do you see that? Did you taste that? Do you know that? Right? So what are some oils that go along these thought processes? Citrus. They can taste it immediately. One of the things I have people do is I tell them, hey, how was your week? Rough week? I want you to hold on to a difficult thought, like a difficult time in your week, a stressful thought, a difficult person, something that has been very difficult for you this week. Hold on to that thought. Have you got a thought in your mind? Everybody have a thought in their mind, right? And then I pull out lemon or wild orange or whatever, and I say, okay, here, I want you to put a drop of lemon oil on the palm of your hand like I am. Rub it together. And I want you to kind of put a little bit in your hair. Lemon is good for your hair. And when you get stressed, what happens? It's like you have heat going out of your head, and you kind of give yourself a nice little aromatherapy when you get a little hot and flustered. Now, shake it out a little bit. I want you to hold on to that negative thought. Hold on to that negative thought. Now I want you to take your hands, close your eyes, bring them up to your nose, close your eyes and deeply inhale. And I want you to hold on to that negative thought, that annoying person, that dark time in your life, that difficult thing. I want you to hold on to it. Ready? Inhale. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Hold on to that negative thought. Can you do it? Can you hold on to that negative thought? And they all look at me and go, no. I'm like, yeah, I just voodooed you. They're like, what the heck? I'm like, I didn't erase your memory, but I changed your response. Oils do not contain any hormones or any chemicals. They don't contain serotonin, but I just boosted your serotonin. The oils are able to hit your brain and recognize that something is out of balance, and it has boosted your serotonin. And guess what? It's impossible for you to be angry, sad, mad, or depressed when your serotonin levels are boosted. That's how quickly the oils can work. I'm like, hey, here's a drop of oil. You've got a glass of water. Can I put a drop in there? Try it. Do you feel it? Do you see it? Do you taste it? Do you know it? Right? Citrus oils are great for that. So balance, how I use balance during a 5, I'm not saying use all these oils. I'm giving you options, right? How I use balance during a 5-minute presentation is I tell them, it's really grounding. Again, if you feel any stress, you're going to feel great. But what I do is I'm like, hey, put a drop of balance on your wrist, rub your wrist together, and now watch your wrist. And you can see the vein in your wrist pop and turn blue. And I'm like, that's how quickly the essential oil is getting into your skin. And that's how quickly it will affect you. And that's how quickly, what it's showing when it pops like that is that the oxygen in your body is being more efficiently used. And so everything is moving more efficiently in your body. Do you feel that? Do you see that? Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's how fast it works. Faster than any pill, faster than any therapy, faster than any yoga session, faster than any meditation or any journaling exercise. I can get you grounded. Do you want that? Have I just sold you on balance? Right? Deep blue, where does it hurt? On a scale of 1 to 10, tell me where your pain level is at right now. When they're like 7, 6, it doesn't really hurt today. I'm like, whatever your pain level is, let's call it a 10. So I show them pea-size amount, deep blue, pea-size amount, where does it hurt? Show me. They're like, right here. All right, let's put it here. And then I continue with my presentation. And then at the 4 or 5 minute mark, I'm like, where are you at? Is it still a 10? They're like, oh, it's an 8. Yeah, and it's going to keep working for the next 20 minutes at least. And here's a sample. If it still hurts, and if it went from a 10 to a 5 in 20 minutes, reapply and see where it gets you. Felt it. It's an experience. I didn't need to talk to them for an hour. They had an oil experience through conversation. So pea-size, where does it hurt? Right there? All right. Or, I always am like, hey, you know what? I've got this stuff, and I am kind of doing a little survey. I've got I'm hitting 10 for 10 right now. So I wanted, I was wondering if you'll help me out. I just want to see if this is going to work on you. Where does it hurt? They're like, what? Where does it hurt? Everybody hurts somewhere. Where does it hurt? Oh, I had just slept weird, I'm like, all right, what's the pain level? And they're like 10. I'm like, awesome. Just humor me. Okay. Let me put this on you. Is it okay if I put this on you? I'm like, oh, sure. I'm like, really, it's just, I'm betting 10 for 10 right now. I don't want to lose this bet. So can I put this on you? Okay. Tell me, and then talk, speak on like, oh yeah, what were you telling me about that new car? How did that salesperson sell it to you again? And continue to have that conversation with them. And then a few minutes later, we're like, hey, how's that pain? Is it still at 10? Holy crap. I can move it now. Cool. Here's a packet. Use it. Oil experience, right? Past tense is the same. Peppermint, popping a peppermint beetlet. And then you can talk about, the potency, that one little beetlet is 1/4 of a drop of peppermint oil. And 1 drop of peppermint oil is 28 cups of peppermint tea. You just had 6 cups of peppermint tea right there, for 4 cents, and that's your conversation. Short. And then pull back and be like, So like, where do you like having coffee or whatever, like what bring that conversation back to them. Elevation, stress and emotional support. Again, you can use that example I gave you about hold on to a negative thought, hold on to a stressful thought, try the elevation. How do you feel? Right there, they're experiencing it immediately in 5 minutes. They didn't have to sit through a class. Very efficient use of your time. A very good way for you to start. A very good precursor to class. If you have difficulty having people come to class, invite them out for coffee and spend 90% of your time talking about nothing but oils. How stress-free is that? Right? You sit there and you talk to them about, and you do not talk to them about oils, because you know that you've got 5 minutes and you're going to wow them. 5 minutes in that hour that you spend with them on coffee. And you know what? Your friend that you've invited for coffee is going to thank you. And I've had people invite me out for a drink, for coffee or smoothie or whatever, or lunch. And from the moment I sit down, I know they have an agenda. I know that they're just itching to say something to me, and they're itching to sell something to me. I know it. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. So invite your friends out for coffee. Have coffee with them. And then in the 5 minutes that you've given yourself to talk about oils, don't make it be like, oh, I want to talk to you about oils. Bring it in because of something they said. Bring it in because of something they said and say, hey, try this. Awesome. Yeah, I liked it here. Cool. And then bring it back. Talk about something else. And then a few days later, you can be like, hey, thank you for having coffee with me. I really enjoyed my time with you. And I hope you liked, the oils. They've really been so impactful for me. I hope you enjoyed that experience that you had with me with those oils. So can we just pause for a second? And can you guys tell me what you think about what we've talked about so far and what's been presented so far? So Maureen says, they're like repetitive things. Yes, the quality is always the same. And Jackie says, someone asked me one time that if 1 drop of peppermint was equal to that much tea, is it a good idea to use it? Because no one ever drinks that much peppermint tea at one time, and maybe it wouldn't be good for you. I wasn't sure how to respond. Drinking 26 cups of peppermint tea isn't the point. It is that 1 drop of peppermint oil is the equivalent of 26 cups of peppermint tea. Now, if someone were to drink 26 cups of peppermint tea because they like the way it tastes, it's not going to hurt them. The same way 1 drop of peppermint oil isn't going to hurt you. But the point that was being made about the 26 cups of peppermint tea was in relation to cost, efficiency, and the fact that you don't have to drink 26 cups of peppermint tea. Now, the truth of the matter is if you have a digestive issue or whatever reason that you're using peppermint tea for, be it to cool your core body temperature or whatever, the truth of the matter is 1 cup isn't going to make much of a difference. We have learned that green tea is really good for us and that we should drink green tea all the time. But here's the thing. If you drink 1 cup of green tea occasionally or 1 cup of green tea even every day, I'm sorry, you may as well not drink green tea because it's not doing anything. There isn't enough in that 1 cup of green tea for it to make a difference. If you look at the dosage on what you need to drink in terms of getting the antioxidative value and all the benefits of green tea, I think it's like something like 8 or 9 cups a day at the bare minimum, depending on the quality of your green tea. So does that answer your question, Jackie? It's almost as if you do have to drink a large amount of tea in order for you to get that benefit. Okay, great. So homework. I would like you guys to work on your 5-minute presentation. I am going to email you this handout as a guide. And I think we've had enough of a discussion that you get the feel and the spirit of why we're doing what we're doing with this. So get that together. And what's going to happen with this class is that I know it's a 4-day intensive, but I'm really never governed by days. I want to sit and work with you until you get what you need. So we're going to cover a lot of ground in the next few days, and then you're going to get lessons that you can go back and recap and it was going to be given to you through Oil Maverick. I've not released those lessons yet because I want to talk to you first before you form your own opinion about what's in that material, right? So I want you to hear me and feel me, and then you'll be able to translate that into the material that you're being provided with. So work on your 5-minute presentation. Once we have that in place, I want to practice that with you. I want to hear it. And then we can, I can maybe shine it up for you a little bit. And then with that 5-minute presentation, we're going to talk about other things like your posture and your presence and how you're going to use that to companion your contact list. And it's good. So I hope that you enjoyed this time with me. And if we are not friends on Facebook, please friend me on Facebook. And if you have any questions about anything that we're talking about, I am here for you. So please be sure to send me a message. And I am here to share this little light of mine with you. I want to thank you all so very much for being with me. And there will be another Zoom call tonight at 9 o'clock. It's optional whether you want to be there or not. We'll be covering kind of the same topic. Obviously, it's not going to be canned because I kind of speak based on what I'm getting from you. And all of these calls will be compiled for you, and you'll get them. You'll get links to them. So this call will be sent to everybody who is involved in this training program, and you will get it via email. But then at the end of the program, you will have like all for you in one handy little package that you'll have access to. So thank you all very, very much, and I really am excited to be spending this time with you. This program has really made a difference for me. Thank you.
Thank you.